Okay, so sit yourself on your left. I'm not sure what I've done with my glasses. I have to work without them. So have a little wriggle about on your seat bones. Just feel that you're sitting evenly and you're kind of placed with levelness. Press the outside edge of your feet firmly into the floor so that you effectively kind of activate the shins and activate the thighs, and then press the fingertips into the block or whatever you're sitting on, and then lift and open the chest, drawing the shoulder blades together and drawing the shoulders down away from your ears. Just spend a few moments just listening to the sound of the breath. Yesterday we were focusing on stilling the eyes. So last week we were stilling the action of the pose with the breath, and stilling the eyes helps to quieten the brain, quieten the cognitive brain, especially the cognitive brain even. Grip around your knees, lift and open the chest, and look at something that doesn't move, preferably at the beginning of the class, down at something on the floor. Just look at the floor, keep your eyes still in the sockets. Focus on drawing the breath in through the nose, filling both lungs evenly, feeling the chest expand upwards and outwards with the in-breath. Breathing into both lungs evenly, and with the out-breath, the rib cage just gently lowers and relaxes. So breathing normally and focusing on the breath. Focus on the stillness of the eyes. Bring your hands into Namaste. Extend from the armpit into the elbow into the heels of the hands into the fingertips. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. So listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Keeping the eyes still in the sockets. Just listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. As you inhale, resist the temptation to allow the eyeballs to move upward in the socket. Keep the eyes soft and still, with the muscles around the eye relaxed. And then just gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area. And then just release your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards, and then just raise your head and open your eyes. Just stretch your legs out and get your belt and put the belt around your legs. So we're just going to stretch the legs out in Dandasana initially. So you can have your feet about hip width apart. Just to give you space, just wriggle off the edge of the, so that the backs of the thighs aren't trapped on whatever you're sitting on. So just have a little wriggle about, and then push your feet into the belt, tighten your kneecaps, tighten the thigh muscles, lift and open the chest. Drive the spine upwards and just look directly ahead. So stilling the eyes isn't something that kind of comes very naturally. We don't do kind of 1,000 out, what's it called, 1,000-mile stare or something, I think, is it? But anyway, just keeping your eyes really still doesn't necessarily come very easily. So sometimes it's good to warm up the eyes. So open your eyes as wide as you can. And then without moving your head, just using the muscles of your eyes, look down to the floor. So beyond the nose and down to the floor, keeping the eyes wide open. And then look forwards. And then look with the eyeballs up to the ceiling. Keeping the eyes wide, keeping your Dandasana active, and then look forwards. So all without moving the head. And then without moving the head, just moving the eyes in the sockets, look to the right side. Breathe in nice and softly, in through the nose and out through the nose. And then look directly ahead. And then look over to the left without moving the head, just moving the eyes, using the muscles of the eyes. And then look directly ahead. And then look up to the ceiling and then do several circles in clockwise action, kind of going all the way around, and then look directly ahead. And then look up to the ceiling and do circles, several circles of the eyes, keeping the eyes really wide in anti-clockwise. And then look ahead. Just spend a moment to observe that you look with the center eye vision without moving the eyeballs. Just acknowledge the upper eye vision, so keeping the eyes wide without moving the eyeballs this time. Just acknowledge and take in the upper eye vision without tensing the eyeballs, without moving them. And include the lower eye vision as well as the upper eye vision. So it's a case of the brain acknowledging, taking in more information, and the outer eye vision, all without moving the eyeballs in the sockets if you can. Breathe in nice and softly, in through the nose and out through the nose. And then just reset your Dandasana, lift and open the chest, keeping the eyes just fixed on a point in front of you. If there's no problem with your back, then just come forwards a little. And then lift the front chest, descend the back chest. Breathe gently, keeping your eyes still, just keeping the eyes in the center, but maintaining the observation of the upper eye, lower eye, and outer eye vision. Listening to the sounds of the breath. Stretching forwards if you can, lifting and opening the chest. Quite a few of you said that you were feeling tired this morning. This is just a good way of kind of waking the body up. Breathing nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose. All the time, maintaining this lift of the front chest, keeping your eyes still, keeping the legs firmly activated. Okay, and then just gently come back to the center. Just come off your lift, come on into Adho Mukha virasana, sitting back on your heels. Just spend a moment just to let your legs, just observe the legs as they kind of meet the new position. So at first, there's maybe some initial resistance, but then after a few moments, they kind of just settle into the pose, or at least they yield to the pose a little. Just roll out to the little toe side of the foot so that the outer buttock bone kind of comes down into the inside of the heel. Lift and open the chest, and then come forward into Adho Mukha virasana, trying to maintain the connection between the seat bones and the heels. Bringing the forehead down. So listen to the sound of the breath, hitting the seat bones and the sacrum spine downwards towards the heels. Extending the arms, spreading the fingers, spreading the palms. Even though you can probably just see the mat, keep your eyes still in the sockets. Breathe in nice and softly. In through the nose and out through the nose. Lift your head, keep your hands where they are, and then I want you to bring your left hand through underneath the armpit of the right hand with the palm facing upwards. Bring the shoulder down if you can, let your head rest on the floor, and then really work deeply into that right arm so it maintains virasana. So Ruth, with your sore neck, this could help to just lengthen that out, but don't overdo it. Spread the palm of that left hand, really opening up that left hand. So it's a gentle twist, but it's a really good shoulder opener. Maintain the action of the left hand. Try and sit back down onto the heels. And then lift the head, come bring the arm back, and then go back into virasana. Lift up the head, draw the right arm underneath the left armpit, palm facing the ceiling, bring the elbow, the shoulder down onto the floor, rest the head on the floor, keep that right up, that left arm working really firmly, and then sit back on the heels as much as you can. Breathe deeply, keep the eyes still in the sockets, and again, just focusing on, it's almost kind of yin-like, this pose, isn't it? Where the floor and gravity do a lot of the work, but keep the arms extending. So it's the outer shoulder and shoulder blade area that gets a really good stretch. And then come back to the center and back into Adho Mukha Virasana. Breathe in nice and deeply. And then come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, and then come up into dog down. So just feel the initial pose. Keep your eyes still in the sockets. Just feel your way around the pose. See the body in 3 dimensions through feeling. So feel where the body is stretching, where the body feels dull. Activating the legs, activating the arms, activating the spine. Working with the feeling of the pose. Keeping the eyes still in the sockets, keeping the breath deep and consistent. We're going to go up into dog up. If you're not going to do dog up, then going back into Adho Mukha Virasana. Or you can stay in dog down if you prefer. So keeping the arms straight, keeping the legs straight, swinging the hips forwards, lifting the front chest, keeping the legs away from the floor. Scooping the abdomen up towards the diaphragm, up towards the collarbone, keeping the thighs away from the floor, lifting the chest, shoulders away from your ears. Pushing the heels of the hands into the floor, lifting up into the armpits. Breathing nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose. And then come back up into dog down. Just listening to the sounds of the breath. Keeping your eyes consciously still in the sockets. So when you draw your attention into the feeling of the pose, there's less for the cognitive brain to be distracted by. So when you draw your attention inwards, when you feel your body with the asana, then we begin to still the mind. We begin to concentrate. Keep the legs straight, keep the arms straight, swing the hips forwards into Adho Mukha Virasana, into Adho Mukha Svanasana, or go into Adho Mukha Virasana if you're not doing dog up. Breathing nice and softly in through the nose, out through the nose. Push the hands firmly into the floor. Have the palms of the hands pressing into the floor. Lift from the wrists up into the armpits. Draw the abdomen forwards and upwards towards the diaphragm, towards the collarbone. If there's no problem with your neck, lift the chin towards the ceiling. Keep the legs away from the floor. And then one more time up into dog down. And then come down onto your knees and then sit back into your heels. So we're going to do some poses, just because lots of people said they were tired this morning. We're going to do lots of poses on the floor, but poses that really kind of challenge the joints, so that we kind of really lift and open the body. So we're going to do Rajakopotasana, the pigeon pose. So come onto all fours and have your hands underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips. Just have a little wriggle about to start off with, just so that you're fit, you feel that you're kind of really opening up these kind of side areas of the hips. Just warming up the hips gently, and then come back to neutral. So before we go into Rajakopotasana, we'll go into cat and cow. So cow pose first. Lift the seat bones up towards the ceiling. Lift the seat bones, lift the tailbone towards the ceiling, lifting the seat bones away from the backs of the knees. Then lengthen from the abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. So we kind of dish into the shoulder blade region. So the back concaves, lifting the seat bones and the tailbone, lifting the abdomen towards the diaphragm, towards the collarbone, towards the chin, lifting from the wrists up into the armpits, stretching from the knees into the toes, breathing nice and softly, and then just rest into neutral. And then tuck the tailbone inwards, draw the chin in towards the chest so that the back rounds, lifting from the wrists into the armpits, from the knees into the toes. So this is often the kind of nicer, more comfortable version, isn't it? And then just come back to neutral. Just feel that you can just wriggle the hips about a little bit again, just feeling that you can open up those side hip areas and come back to the center one more time. Cow pose. So tilting the tailbone and the seat bones up towards the ceiling, lengthening the abdomen towards the diaphragm, collarbone, chin, lifting the arms, pressing the heels of the hands into the floor, lifting from the armpit, from the wrists into the armpits, lengthening from the knees into the toes so that the shins become flat on the floor. Breathing nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose. Then tuck the tailbone in, draw the chin in towards the chest. Just breathe nice and softly. When you release into the cat like this, it really helps to relieve any tension in your neck and shoulders. So work to really tuck the tailbone inwards, to really bring the chin towards the chest in kind of Jalandhara bandha action, and then just gently come back to the center. Bring your right knee to make contact with the right wrist, and then bring the right foot over to the side so that the heel is going to sit underneath the hip, the left hip. So make sure that heel is going to kind of be in line with the left hip, and then reach that left leg back. Come up onto fingertips, tadasana that back leg, really work this back leg, draw the thigh, the frontal thigh of that back leg inwards so that the back of the thigh broadens outwards so that the hips feel level. So it's that dog up action in the chest, isn't it? So it's the dog up action in the leg. So we really kind of activate that leg. It doesn't stay idle. We kind of tighten the kneecap, lengthen. It's almost like you push the foot into the floor. You try and lift the thigh off the floor, but don't lift the thigh off the floor. But you can just get that action in the leg. Turn the front thigh inwards, broaden the back of the thigh so that this back of the thigh and the hip comes forwards. Lift and open the chest. Breathe nice and softly. Keep the eyes still. And then bring the palms of the hands flat. Turn your toes under, and then just walk that back leg in, and then come back onto all fours. Just have a little wriggle about. So Rajakopotasana is a really nice pose, isn't it? It just kind of, it's one of those poses that just really opens up areas of the body that are difficult to kind of access. So come back to neutral with the hips, and then bring the left knee to make contact with the left wrist. Turn the toes outwards, turn the whole of the lower leg outwards so the heel is going to sit underneath the instep, sit underneath the hip of the right leg, and then walk that right leg back. Come up into fingertips, And again, tadasanaize that back leg. So the front thigh turns inwards, the back of the thigh broadens outwards. So the hips feel level. Lift and open the chest, breathing nice and softly. Just listening to the sounds of the breath. Keeping your eyes still in the sockets, keeping the breath deep and consistent. Bringing the palms flat onto the floor, turn your toes under that back foot, walk yourself in, and just step back into all fours. Have your hands as wide apart as your shoulders, step back a little, turn your toes under, and then come back up into dog down. So maybe there's a new refreshment in your hips. Maybe there's a sense of elongation in the arms and in the spine. Keep your eyes still in the sockets, keep the breath soft. Listen to the sounds of the breath. Continue to breathe deeply and evenly, remembering that if you still the breath, then you kind of gain more energy from the pose. And then just come down onto your knees and sit yourself back onto your heels. So we're going to do a little sequence of padagusthasana poses with the variations that are actually really good poses to do if you're feeling a little bit tired, because it opens everything up without the. So it gives you the kind of effects of the standing pose without it being a standing pose. So we're going to start off, just make sure that you've got room around the sides of you, because you're going to stretch your legs out to the sides. Have a belt where you can reach it, and then just bring yourself down into a really good straight line along the floor. If your head rolls back, have a blanket for underneath your head. Just do tadasana along the floor to start off with. So often in tadasana, we forget about the inner legs. And when we do tadasana along the floor, the inner legs are really important, because otherwise, when you kind of stretch the legs away, it's the outer edge of the foot that pushes further away than the inside of the foot. The feet should be flat, like they're kind of pressing against a wall. So lengthen from the inner groin. Turn the thighs, the fronts of the thighs inwards, broadening the backs of the thighs like you were doing in Rajakopotasana, and then lengthen consciously from the inner groin into the inner heel. So that action of really working the legs probably makes you overarch your lumbar. So feel that you can maintain that action in the legs, but then soften and broaden the abdomen so the abdominal walls come down onto the floor so that you soften the abdominal region. And then stretch your arms up towards the ceiling, and then lengthen your arms along the floor. See if you can get both thumbs to touch at the same time. Do it a couple of times. So maintaining the action of those legs and the inner legs, especially broadening the abdomen, and then just a couple of times, just try and get the thumbs to reach the floor at the same time. So it's more difficult than it sounds, isn't it? And then interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then lengthen your arms along the floor. So we're doing padanghustasana effectively, aren't we? But we're lying down. So lying down doesn't make it any less energetic. It just does different things with gravity. It feels different. It really helps us to understand those inner legs, how you have to kind of lengthen from the inner thigh into the inner heel so that the legs extend evenly. That action is assisted by the turning in of the front of the thighs. But again, we've got to really soften and broaden the abdomen so that we don't overwork in the lumbar. So just breathe in nice and softly. And then just gently release your arms. Get hold of your belt. Keep your left leg undisturbed if you possibly can. Bend up the right foot, hook the belt around the right foot, and then lengthen that leg to 12 o'clock. Now in this Supta Padagusthasana 1 pose, I want you to just identify the inner leg action. Probably you lose it. I've definitely lost it from bringing the leg up. So make sure that the leg is straight to start off with. If you can't straighten it, then just pull it away from the body a little like this. But resist having the leg like kind of hanging over the head. Just have it at 12 o'clock. Reactivate that left leg. Really turn the thigh in, extend into the inner heel from the inner groin. Do the same with the lifted leg. Turn this frontal thigh muscle inwards and then lengthen from the inner groin all the way up into the inner heel. Lift and open the chest, but soften the abdomen. Keep your eyes still in the sockets. Breathe in nice and softly. So maintaining that action of turning the thighs inwards on both legs, lengthening from the inner groin into the inner heel and softening the abdomen. Just breathe in nice and softly. If you can, just see if you can bring that leg a little higher toward your head, but without losing the straight leg. So keeping that leg straight, so bending your elbows out to the side. But the leg is just in Supta Padagusthasana 1 to start off with. So we've been doing this pose standing up. And again, if you imagine that you're standing up, you have to work that left leg much more firmly. So when we do it standing up, the hips are often a problem. The lifted leg foot often kind of the hips want to come out of line. So you've got to really work to lengthen that lifted leg hip from the armpit. Okay, and then just release the leg and just let the leg come down. So just Supta Padagusthasana 1 for the moment. Just let the legs release for a second or two. And then just do tadasana along the center of the mat. Bring the foot back into the belt, and then just work the leg that's on the floor, turning that thigh inwards, drawing the inner thigh into the inner groin. That didn't make any sense at all, did it? Inner groin into the inner heel, and then do the same with the lifted leg. Breathe in nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose. Listening to the sound of the breath, imagining that you're standing on that right leg, pushing it down into the floor, lifting it, lengthening into the inner groin. Breathe in softly. You can, with a straight leg, just bring that leg up a little higher, but maintain the levelness of the hips. So that's a juxtaposition of action, isn't it? So when you lift this leg higher, the hips want to go out of line. So you've got to really lengthen from the armpit into the hip on that left side. So maintain the evenness of the hips. But working to turn that thigh, lifted thigh inwards, just as the leg on the floor is inwards, lengthening from the inner groin into the inner heel. Breathing evenly, Keeping the eyes still in the sockets. Okay, and then just gently release the leg. Just let the legs be soft on the floor. Just get your breath back. So we're going to bring the leg in Supta padagusthasana 2. Just sit yourself up a second, because this is slightly different to how we would normally do it. So in Supta padagusthasana 2, we're not really going to do Supta padagusthasana 2, because in Supta 2, you kind of bring this leg out to the side, but it never reaches the floor. But this time we're going to roll over. So this leg might lift so that the little toe side is firmly on the floor. Then you're going to really activate this left leg, stretch out into the right arm. So it's like we're doing, and then you look over that that left hand. So you're going to, it's like you're doing trikonasana along the floor. So you get all of the kind of hip opening of trikonasana. It's really nice, but with kind of quietness almost. So just be down the center of your mat, hook the belt, hook the right foot into the belt. Just have one end of the belt in each hand to start off with. Lengthen into the left leg, that especially focusing on that inner groin. Do the same with the lifted leg, feeling that the hips are level. Just take some deep in breaths, deep out breaths. Take hold of the belt closer to the foot. So both ends of the belt in the hand, and then bring that leg out in line with your ear, if you can, and then bring the foot down onto the floor. This left leg will lift initially. So once the little toe is on the floor, then work one more time into that left leg. Stretch the left arm out to the side so it's in line with your shoulder. Look over that left hand. Turn the abdomen from the from the right to the left. So you're turning your abdomen back to the left leg side. So it's like we're doing trikonasana. We're turning the chest up to face the ceiling. So the ceiling would be where the left hand is. Breathe in nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose. Keep working deeply into that left leg. Breathing deeply, keeping the eyes still in the sockets. And then just bring that leg back up to the center, unhook the foot, and then just release into the floor. So just readjust, make sure that you're in a good straight line. Just rest for a moment. So I don't know where the time's gone this morning. It's nearly 1:45, but it is 1:45. So after, I thought it was about past. Stretch into the legs, into both legs, into the inner legs. Hook the left foot around the belt. Take hold of one end of the belt in each hand to start off with. Just reset. So really working that inner thigh, that frontal thigh inwards on the right leg, lengthening to the inner heel, and doing the same with that lifted leg. Lifting and opening the chest, softening the abdomen, broadening the abdomen into the abdominal walls. Turning the front of the thigh so that the back of the thigh can broaden. Lengthening from the hip of that left side from the armpit into the hip. Lengthening into the inner groin, into the inner heel. Take hold of both ends of the belt a little closer to the foot if you can with your left hand, and then bring that leg out to the side. So bend the elbow, try and get the leg out in line with your ear, and then just bring that foot down onto the floor. And then recharge the right leg. Really work to turn the thigh inwards to lengthen into the inner groin. Stretch the right arm out and then look over that right arm. Rotate the abdomen away from that left leg towards the right leg. towards the right arm. Breathe in nice and softly. So it's Trikonasana, isn't it? But Trikonasana, not as we know it. Breathe in nice and softly. In through the nose and out through the nose. Soften the jaw and the tongue. And then just bring that leg back to the center, unhook the belt, and then just rest down into the floor. Just allowing yourself to rest into the floor for a moment. And then pull your knees into the body, get hold of the shins, and then come down into Supta, baddhakonasana. Just listen to the sounds of the breath. Stretch the arms up to the ceiling and then interlock the fingers, but go to the unnatural interlock. So interlock the fingers the unnatural way, because we already did padanghustasana. Turn the palms all the way out, squeeze the outer elbows in, and then lengthen your arms along the floor. Take deep, indulgent breaths. Keep your eyes still in the sockets, keeping your eyes open. Just listening to the sound of the breath. Listening to the sound of the breath, keeping the jaw and the tongue soft, so that the area around the eyes is soft. The area around the forehead is soft. Just lengthening into the arms, lengthening the side ribs, softening the abdomen, broadening out from the abdomen into the abdominal walls. So we really stretch and extend the muscles. And although we've been working exclusively from the floor this morning, we've still given ourselves pretty intense stretches. Okay, release your arms, release the hands, and then just bring your knees back together. Pull your knees in towards your chest, and then sit yourself up into a seated position. Just sit in cross legs for a moment. So it's the first time for a little while that we've kind of sat in an upright position. Just grip around your knees, just close your eyes for a few moments, take some deep inhalations, deep exhalations. Just feel how, as you sit upright, your energy feels as though it kind of rises upwards. So although we've not really done standing poses as such, we've been working on opening up the energy of the body. If you've got problems with your back and you don't do forward bending, then just stay at this stage. Otherwise, lift the abdomen towards the chin, come forwards, and then creating a couple of fists for your hands. Just bring your head down onto the fist. If you can't reach, then of course just use a block, so you bring the floor up to you. Just breathe in nice and evenly. As you come forwards, try and maintain connection between the seat bones and the floor. So when you come forwards, they will want to kind of lift up. So try and lengthen the sacrum spine down towards the floor in the same kind of action as in Adho Mukha Virasana. Keeping the breath deep and soft, keeping the eyes still in the sockets. So lift your head, come back into seated position. Just swap the crossing of your legs. Just lift and open the chest, drive the spine upwards, and then come forwards again. Swap which fist was on the top. If you're not sure, just do whatever feels natural and then swap those around. And then again, come forwards. Pressing the forehead into the fist and the fist into the forehead. Okay, and then just lift and open your chest. Wrap around your knees, elevate the spine up towards the ceiling. Take a good deep inhalation, and then just gently turn to the right side. Drawing the abdomen across. Out breath to intensify the turn. And then come back to the center, grip around your knees, lift and open the chest. And then turn to the left. And then come back to the center. And we might run over slightly. So I just wanted to do one more pose. So, but if you can't stay, then don't worry. What you can do instead is just, rather than this pose that I'm going to show you, is just come down into Shavasana with the blanket under your head. Just bring yourself down into a good straight line and just rest down. And I'll keep an eye on the time and I'll let you know when 9 o'clock is coming up. If you can stay for just a little bit longer, we're going to do a really supportive, restorative version of setubandha. So I'll show you. So you're going to come down onto the floor, and then if you've got a bolster, then lift the seat bones. If you haven't got a bolster, you can just put blocks underneath. But you just bring the kind of small of the back onto the bolster, and then you just stay in this kind of supported setubandha. Make sure that you just feel even. Keep the legs bent. Just lift the chest. And then just rest down onto the floor, have the hands out to the sides, and then just rest into this supported restorative setubandha. So if you need to go for 9 o'clock, I'll keep an eye on the time for you and I'll let you know when we're coming up to 9. So it's 57 past now. Let's do Shavasana. Whichever of the poses that you're doing, you can just let go. If you're in the supported setubandha, then just Try and maintain the lift of the chest lightly. Just let the muscles of the body soften and release. So maybe by letting go of the muscles, you can feel the energy flowing through the legs and through the arms and through the chest. It's the energy that we have released through our practice. So it's just come up to 59 minutes past 8. So if you need to go for 9 o'clock, then just sit yourself up, go into a cross-leg position, just have a short moment of acknowledging the positive energy you've created inside. Send some of that positive energy out into the world. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you tomorrow if you need to go now. Have a great day. If you can stay in this supported setubandha for a little longer, then do. Just continuing to take in deep inhalations, deep exhalations. You might have closed your eyes naturally. That's fine. Just keep your eyes closed. But keep the eyes still in the sockets behind the closed lids. Feel the energy that is flowing through your body. Just that calm aliveness that comes from the intensity of the poses and becomes apparent when we relax. Okay, we just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, lift the seat bones, and then just move the bolster out of the way. Guide yourself back down onto the floor and then pull your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. And then just rock yourself up, back up into a seated position. And then just come into, just have your folded blanket for your head and just bring yourself down into shavasana. So make sure that you feel warm. So put a pair of socks on if you need to. Just have the bolster, the blanket, sorry, underneath your head, supporting the back of your neck. And then just allow yourself to become heavy into the floor. consciously unhooking the muscles of the arms and of the legs. Breathing nice and deeply in through the nose and out through the nose. Soften the jaw and the tongue. Maybe when you were in that supported setubandha, you started to feel the energy and lightness of energy flowing through the body. You can feel it again, that lightness in comparison with the heaviness of the limbs. Just use the in-breath and the out-breath to distribute that energy evenly around the body, into the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, the top of the head. Okay, when you're ready, just wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, just bring yourself back into this pose of Shavasana. Pull your knees in toward your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just giving yourself just a gentle grounding massage for your spine. And then roll over onto your right side. And then straighten out your top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just the final cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Drawing the breath in through the nose, down into the abdominal region. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions, the forward bends, the twists, the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. Then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. Just very gently release the backs of the hands down towards the knees, palms facing upwards. As you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you have kind of just gently opened up your energy. So it's really nice sometimes just to work directly on the floor like that, especially if you're feeling a little bit tired in the mornings. It's just a way of kind of really quite intensely opening up the body, but without kind of hopefully exhausting yourself. So thank you very much.